My daughter thought I didn't see the powder in my tea. I was sitting at our small kitchen table in our Riverside Gardens apartment, watching Madison prepare my morning English breakfast tea. She had that practiced smile on her face, the same one she used for her TikTok videos, the same one that fooled 72,000 followers into thinking she was living some kind of dream life. But I saw it. That fine white powder she tapped from a small packet into my favorite ceramic mug, the one with the chipped handle that I'd been using for 15 years. I saw her glance toward her bedroom, where that ring light was already glowing at 6:30 inches the morning. And I saw the way she stirred my tea extra long, making sure every grain dissolved completely before adding the honey and lemon I loved. "Here you go, Mama," she said, her voice dripping with that artificial sweetness she used for her content. "Made it just the way you like it, extra special this morning." I just smiled and took the mug from her hands, feeling its warmth seep into my aging fingers. She had no idea I'd been watching her for 3 weeks now. Let me tell you something about being invisible in America when you're a 60-year-old black woman. When you're a home health aide making $28,500 a year, working for families who sometimes forget you're even in the room while they discuss their private matters, you learn to become a ghost. You learn to watch. You learn to listen. You learn to see things people think they're hiding. But when you're that woman's daughter, young, light-skinned enough to be acceptable, with 72,000 TikTok followers and an Instagram aesthetic that screams self-made success, suddenly the whole world wants to see you. Madison had built her entire online empire on a carefully constructed lie. While I worked 55-hour weeks bathing elderly clients, administering medications, and changing adult diapers in homes across Atlanta, she was posting photos of designer yoga pants that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. $380 Lululemon sets, $450 Gucci sneakers, $180 brunches at those trendy Buckhead restaurants where they serve portions smaller than my fist. Her TikTok bio read, "Self-made wellness entrepreneur. Living authentically. Manifestation works. Self-made." That word burned every time I read it. I'd raised Madison alone since she was 4 years old, after her father walked out and never looked back. 19 years of double shifts. 19 years of choosing between buying myself new work shoes or making sure Madison had the latest sneakers so she wouldn't get bullied at school. 19 years of wearing the same navy blue scrubs with Karen, home health aide embroidered on the chest, until the fabric wore thin and the letters started fading. But Madison's followers didn't know any of that. They saw her ring light setup worth $340, her iPhone 15 Pro Max that cost $1,400, her wellness corner with crystal collections worth hundreds of dollars, and they thought she'd manifested it all through positive thinking and hard work. The comments on her posts made my chest tight every time I read them. Goals. How did you become so successful so young? Teach us your secrets, Queen. You're such an inspiration. The secret was me working overnight shifts at the nursing home so she could sleep in. The secret was me paying $1,100 every month for this 2-bedroom apartment in Riverside Gardens so she'd have a nice backdrop for her content. The secret was me buying groceries and covering utilities while she spent every penny she made on maintaining her fake wellness influencer lifestyle. I found the credit card statements 3 weeks ago when I was looking for my insurance papers in the drawer we shared. Madison had opened cards in her own name. Thank God I'd taught her that much about being responsible. But what I saw made my blood run cold. $3,800 in designer athleisure over the past 4 months. All purchased while she was posting videos about financial wellness and investing in yourself smartly. But the money she was spending wasn't even the worst part. It was the money she was making off of me. You see, Madison had discovered what a lot of influencers eventually figure out. Struggle sells better than success, Hardship gets more engagement than happiness. Pain is more profitable than pleasure. So, 6 months ago, she'd pivoted her content. Suddenly, her feed wasn't just about green smoothies and morning routines anymore. Now it included tearful videos about caring for my aging mother who sacrificed everything for me. Posts about the sandwich generation struggle and being a young caregiver. Her most viral video, the one with 340,000 views and 52,000 likes, was titled, "Making My Mama's Morning Tea," while she gets ready for another 12-hour shift. The camera showed her in our tiny kitchen, looking exhausted and noble, carefully preparing my tea. "My mama works so hard," she said to the camera, her voice cracking just right. "She's 60 years old and still doing physically demanding work because she spent everything on raising me. The least I can do is make sure she starts her day with love." The comments on that video broke my heart. "You're such a good daughter. Your mama raised you right." This made me cry. My mom sacrificed for me too. The way you care for her. Goals. Black mothers are superheroes, and black daughters who honor them are queens. What they didn't see was me, off camera, actually buying the expensive organic tea she used in the video. What they didn't see was Madison checking her phone obsessively during filming, making sure the lighting was perfect, reshooting the scene 4 times until she got the right candid moment. What they didn't see was her PayPal account, where concerned followers had been sending money. It started small, $10 here, $15 there, for your mama's medical expenses, to help with bills. For groceries, you're such a good daughter. But over 6 months, it added up to $11,400. $11,400 from strangers who believed they were helping a struggling black family, strangers who saw a young woman caring for her aging mother and wanted to support that love. I found the bank statements in her laptop bag 2 weeks ago. Every single PayPal deposit was immediately transferred to her personal checking account. Every dollar donated by people who thought they were helping me buy my blood pressure medication or pay my rent was going straight into Madison's designer wellness lifestyle fund. But what hurt most wasn't the money she was stealing from strangers. It wasn't even the way she was using me as a prop for her content. What hurt most was sitting in this apartment every morning, invisible in my own home, while my daughter performed caring for me like it was just another brand collaboration. She'd set up her camera on the kitchen counter, adjust the ring light until the golden glow made her look angelic, and then call out, "Mama, your tea is ready," in that sing-song voice that bore no resemblance to how she actually spoke to me. The moment she stopped recording, the performance ended. She'd grab her phone, scroll through comments, check her analytics, calculate her engagement rates. I'd become background noise in my own life. "Nobody follows tired old home health aides, Mama," she told me once, about 4 months ago, when I'd asked why she never mentioned what I actually did for work in her videos. They follow success stories. They follow people who figured out how to break generational cycles. That's the narrative that sells. Figured out how to break cycles, as if my working 60-hour weeks to put her through community college wasn't breaking cycles, as if my making sure she never went to bed hungry wasn't breaking cycles, as if my saving every spare dollar so she could take that social media marketing course wasn't breaking cycles. But Madison's version of breaking cycles apparently meant exploiting the woman who'd actually broken them for her. I still remember the first time I realized something was wrong with my morning tea. It was 3 weeks ago, a Thursday morning. I'd drunk my usual cup that Madison prepared, kissed her forehead, and headed out to my first client of the day, Mrs. Patterson, an 83-year-old stroke survivor who needed help with her morning routine. By 9:30 a.m., I was struggling to keep my eyes open. My limbs felt heavy, like I was moving through honey. Mrs. Patterson's daughter found me nodding off in the bathroom, nearly dropping the towel I was folding. "Karen, are you all right?" she'd asked, genuine concern in her voice. "You look absolutely exhausted." "I'm fine," I'd said, shaking my head to clear the fog. "Just didn't sleep well last night." But I had slept well. I'd gotten my full 7 hours, same as always. My body ran on routine, had to, with my schedule. So why did I feel like I'd been drugged? The second incident happened on Saturday. Same heavy feeling, same struggle to stay alert, same fog in my brain that made simple tasks feel impossibly difficult. This time I was with Mr. Chen, helping him with his physical therapy exercises, and I nearly let him fall because my reaction time was so slow. "Karen, you need to take care of yourself," Mr. Chen's son had said, his tone less concerned and more accusatory. "My father's safety depends on you being alert." He was right. I was putting my clients at risk. But I couldn't understand what was wrong with me. I wasn't sick. I wasn't depressed. I was just drowsy. Constantly, inexplicably drowsy during my morning shifts. That's when I started paying attention to the pattern. The drowsiness only happened on days when Madison made my tea. On Sundays, when I made my own tea before she woke up, I felt fine. On my days off, when I skipped the morning tea entirely, I felt normal. Monday morning, I watched Madison more carefully. That's when I saw it for the first time, the quick movement of her hand, something white being tapped into my mug before the tea bag went in. She'd stirred it immediately, dissolved it completely, then added my honey and lemon like always. I'd drunk it anyway that day. I needed to be sure I wasn't imagining things. And sure enough, by 10 a.m., I was fighting to keep my eyes open while bathing Mrs. Rodriguez. Tuesday, I only pretended to drink the tea. Took a small sip, complimented Madison on how good it was, then forgot the mug on the table when I left for work. I felt fine all day. Alert, energetic myself. Wednesday, I drank the tea again. Drowsy by 9:30. Thursday, I skipped it. Fine all day. Friday, I confronted the evidence I'd been avoiding. My 2 5-year-old daughter was drugging me. The question was why. I started researching. What kind of drug makes you drowsy but doesn't knock you out completely? What's easy to hide in tea? What dissolves without leaving obvious traces? Sleep aids. Specifically, over-the-counter sleep medications that could be crushed into powder. Diphenhydramine, doxylamine, succinate, the active ingredients in products like Benadryl PM or Unisom. Harmless enough in normal doses, but taken every morning when you're supposed to be working? Dangerous. Especially for someone my age, with my blood pressure issues. But Madison wouldn't be trying to hurt me, would she? No. There had to be another reason. Some reason that made sense in her influence or logic. I found my answer 3 days later, when I was cleaning our shared bathroom and found Madison's content calendar notebook tucked behind the toilet tank. She'd been planning posts weeks in advance, and there, in her neat handwriting, I saw entries that made my blood turn to ice. Week 3. Post video of Mama looking confused and tired. Caption: Watching my mother age is the hardest part of being a caregiver. Some days she's not herself. Week 4. Story series about Mama's declining health. Research symptoms of early dementia for authenticity. Week 5. Tearful video about considering nursing home options. Ask followers for advice and support. She wasn't drugging me to hurt me. She was drugging me to create content. She was making me appear confused and disoriented so she could document my supposed decline for her followers. So she could position herself as a devoted daughter dealing with an aging, failing mother. And based on the engagement predictions she'd written in the margins, estimate 400K views, $15K in donations, it was working exactly as she'd planned. My hands shook, as I photographed every page of that notebook. The tea drugging was just the beginning. Madison had been setting up a much larger narrative, one that would paint her as a suffering caregiver and me as a burden, a sympathetic storyline that would open wallets and boost her follower count. But what came next in her notes made me drop the notebook entirely. Week 8 was circled in red ink, with big reveal written in capital letters. Underneath, in smaller text, elder abuse story. Flip the script. Maximum sympathy. GoFundMe launch. Elder abuse story. Flip the script. I picked up the notebook with trembling hands and kept reading. Madison had written out her entire plan in bullet points, like a marketing strategy. Position myself as the brave daughter, finally speaking out. Claim mama has been emotionally abusive for years. Financial control, manipulation, guilt-tripping. Use footage of her looking disoriented as evidence of her instability. Suggest she's been medicating me without consent to keep me compliant. Launch GoFundMe for escape fund to move out and start therapy. Goal: $75. 000 minimum. Below that, she'd written, key talking points: narcissistic mother, generational trauma. Breaking free. Self-care isn't selfish. Protecting my peace. My daughter was planning to accuse me of elder abuse, the very thing she was actually doing to me, and profit from the lie. She was going to take the drugs she'd been giving me and claim I'd been the one medicating her. She was going to use my actual exhaustion from working myself to the bone as evidence that I was the unstable, abusive one. And based on the social media landscape she'd studied so carefully, she was probably right that people would believe her. Young, articulate, photogenic daughter versus tired, aging mother who worked a low-status job? The narrative practically wrote itself. I sat on that bathroom floor for 20 minutes, just staring at her handwriting. This was the child I'd raised. The baby I'd rocked through countless nights. The little girl I'd taught to read, to tie her shoes, to stand up for herself. The teenager I'd supported through heartbreaks and disappointments. The young woman I'd sacrificed everything to give a better life than I'd had. And she was preparing to destroy me for content. The phone call that changed everything happened at 1:23 a.m. on a Tuesday night. I was lying in my bed, staring at the ceiling fan making its slow circles in the darkness, when I heard Madison's voice through the thin wall that separated our bedrooms. She was talking to someone, her voice low but excited. Conspiratorial. "No, Bree, listen. This is going to work perfectly," she whispered. But apartment walls in Riverside Gardens are thin, especially when you're trying to be quiet at 1 in the morning and your mother has spent 60 years learning to listen carefully. I got up slowly, my knees protesting like they always did, and pressed my ear against the wall. The elder abuse angle is pure gold. I've been testing it with smaller posts, and the engagement is insane. People eat this stuff up. Elder abuse angle. My chest tightened. I held my breath and listened harder. I know it sounds bad, but hear me out," Madison continued. "Old black women are trending right now. Elder care awareness, respect your elders, all that stuff. But you know what's even bigger? Children of narcissistic parents. If I position myself as the brave daughter speaking out against her toxic, abusive mother, I could easily hit $75,000 in donations, maybe more if it really goes viral." I felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart. Toxic, abusive, me. "Bree, I'm not talking about real abuse, obviously," Madison said, and I could hear her moving around her room, probably pacing like she did when she was excited about something. "Just, you know how to work the algorithm. Scared daughter, generational trauma, finally breaking free. The story writes itself. And with the caregiving content I've already built up, it's the perfect pivot. There was a pause while she listened to whoever Bree was, probably that friend from her social media marketing course, the one who was always commenting on her posts with strategic advice. "Yes, I already have content planned," Madison said. "I've been giving her these herbal sleep aids in her morning tea, totally harmless, just diphenhydramine, same stuff that's in Benadryl. Just makes her drowsy and a little confused, so I can film her looking disoriented. It's perfect because she already looks tired from work anyway. Nobody will question it. Sleep aids, not powder. Sleep aids in my tea every single morning for 3 weeks. The beauty is that nobody's going to fact-check an elder abuse story, right?" Madison continued. "It's too sensitive. People just donate and share and show support. I've already got the script written. Want to hear it?" I heard her moving again, probably grabbing her notebook or her phone. "Okay, here's the opening. I never thought I'd have the courage to post this, but I can't stay silent anymore. For years my mother has been..." And then I list all the classic signs: emotional manipulation, financial control, gaslighting about my memories, threatening me when I try to be independent. All the patterns people recognize from therapy TikTok. My daughter was reading from notes, actual written notes about fake abuse, about me abusing her. "The genius part is the medication angle," she said, her voice getting more animated. "I can say she's been putting things in my food to make me compliant and docile. Ironic, right? Since I'm the one doing it to her. But it flips the script perfectly. Suddenly I'm the victim who's been drugged and controlled, and she's the dangerous old woman who needs to be stopped." My hands were shaking so hard, I had to press them against the wall to steady myself. My own daughter was planning to accuse me of the exact thing she was doing to me. "I already picked out the outfit for the crying video," Madison said. "Something plain and vulnerable looking. Maybe that oversized sweater that makes me look smaller, younger. And I've been practicing the scared voice." "Want to hear it?" There was another pause. Then Madison's voice changed completely, became small and trembling and terrified, nothing like her normal confident tone. "Please, if anyone can help me, I don't know how much longer I can survive in this house. I'm afraid of what she might do if she finds out I'm posting this. But I can't keep living in fear. I deserve to heal. I deserve peace." Then her normal voice came back, bright and pleased with herself. "Good, right? I've been practicing in the mirror for weeks. The key is to look at the camera but not quite make eye contact. Makes it seem like you're too traumatized to fully connect, but brave enough to speak your truth anyway." I wanted to burst through that wall right then and there, wanted to confront her, to demand to know when my baby girl had turned into this calculating stranger who could practice looking traumatized in a mirror. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the realization that confronting her would only make things worse. She'd just accelerate her plan, post the videos before I could defend myself, control the narrative before I even knew I needed protection. "The timeline is perfect too," Madison continued. "I'm going to post the first video this Friday during peak hours around 7 p.m. when everyone's scrolling after dinner. Then follow up with a 3-part story series on Saturday. By Sunday, I'll launch the GoFundMe. If I can get it shared enough, maybe get it trending on TikTok, I figure I could raise $75,000 easy. Maybe more if it really takes off. $75,000 for destroying her mother. For taking everything I'd sacrificed for her and twisting it into a story of abuse and trauma. And here's the best part, Bree," Madison said, her voice dropping to an even lower whisper. "Even if someone tried to investigate, what are they going to find? A tired old woman who works as a home health aide and comes home exhausted every day. A daughter who's been posting about taking care of her aging mother for months. All the evidence supports the narrative I've been building. She was right. She'd been so careful, so methodical. Every worried about mama post, every caregiver life is hard video, every expression of concern about my health, it was all preparation for this moment. She'd been building the foundation for months, creating a documented history that would make her lies look like truth. Bree, people want to believe in clear villains and sympathetic victims, Madison said. I'm young, educated, articulate, light-skinned enough to be non-threatening. She's old, dark-skinned, works a job that people look down on, probably seems stern and difficult to people who don't know her. Who do you think they're going to believe when I tell them she's been abusing me? The racism in her calculation hit me like a physical blow. She was banking on colorism, on classism, on every ugly stereotype about Black women being angry, difficult, abusive. She was going to weaponize my age, my dark skin, my working class status against me. And the worst part was, she was probably right about which one of us people would believe. The only tricky part is making sure she doesn't see it coming, Madison said. If she gets suspicious and starts defending herself before I can control the narrative, it could backfire. But I've got that covered too. She lowered her voice even more, and I had to press my ear harder against the wall to hear. I'm going to increase the dose in her tea on Friday morning. Make sure she's really out of it. Then I'll film the big reveal video while she's barely conscious in the background. Perfect evidence of how the medication she's been giving me has affected her mental state. By the time she fully wakes up and realizes what's happened, the video will have thousands of views and the donations will already be pouring in. She was going to drug me into near unconsciousness and film me as proof that I was the one who'd been drugging her. She was going to use my actual incapacitation caused by her as evidence of my guilt. Even if she tries to deny it, Madison continued, the internet will have already made up its mind. And honestly, after everything I've done for my content, after all the followers I've built, after all the work I've put into this brand, I've earned this money. She had her whole life to make something of herself. This is my time. The call ended a few minutes later, but I stayed pressed against that wall until the sun started coming up, listening to Madison practice her victim voice and plan my complete destruction. I heard her rehearsing different ways to cry on camera. I heard her timing how long to pause for maximum emotional impact. I heard her actually laugh, while calculating potential earnings from different trauma scenarios. That's when I knew this wasn't about money anymore. This wasn't even about lies or betrayal. This was about survival. Because Madison was absolutely right about one thing. People do want clear villains. And she was betting everything on the fact that when her story went viral, I would be the one they chose to destroy. But she'd made one crucial mistake in all her careful planning. She'd assumed I would stay drugged and helpless long enough for her lies to become the accepted truth. She'd assumed that a 60-year-old Black woman who cleaned other people's houses and wiped other people's parents would be too beaten down, too invisible, too powerless to fight back. What she didn't know was that invisible people see everything. We hear everything. We remember everything. And we know how to survive in a world that's been trying to erase us our entire lives. What Madison didn't know was that I'd already stopped drinking her tea 3 days ago. Thursday morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in almost 2 years. My supervisor, Patricia, sounded genuinely shocked on the phone. Karen? You're never sick. Are you all right? Just need a personal day, I said, keeping my voice steady. I'll make up the hours this weekend. Don't worry about that. Just take care of yourself. If only she knew what taking care of myself actually meant today. I sat at our kitchen table, with Madison's laptop open in front of me. She'd left it unlocked again after her late-night call with Bree, too excited about her plans to remember basic security. The screen showed a Google Doc, titled Content Strategy, private with 26 pages of detailed notes about how to destroy my life and profit from it. The document was terrifyingly professional. She'd researched everything: optimal posting times for maximum engagement, hashtags that would make abuse content go viral, psychological techniques for appearing credible in victim testimonials. She'd even studied other influencers who'd successfully monetized trauma narratives, analyzing what made their stories believable and shareable. Page 8 had a section called Evidence Creation, screenshots of fake text messages she'd created using online generators, messages showing Karen Whitmore sending threatening texts to Madison. "You're nothing without me. Try to leave and see what happens. Nobody will believe you over me." Messages that never existed but looked completely real, complete with realistic timestamps and message bubbles. Page 14 was titled Medical Documentation. She'd researched symptoms of various drugs, planning to claim I'd been slipping her different substances over time. Anxiety medication to keep her dependent. Sleep aids to control her schedule. Even antipsychotics to make her doubt her own reality. The irony was staggering. She was describing exactly what she'd been doing to me, just reversing the roles. Page 19 broke down financial projections like a business plan. Conservative estimate: $75,000 in the first week if the story gained moderate traction. Optimistic scenario: $180,000 if it went viral across multiple platforms. She'd even calculated taxes, platform fees, and budget allocation for reinvestment in content creation. But page 23 made me close the laptop and walk away. It was titled Long-Term Monetization Strategy and outlined her plans for after the initial donation money stopped flowing. Book deal about surviving maternal narcissistic abuse. Estimated advance: $150,000 to $300,000. Speaking engagements at mental health conferences and corporate wellness events. Rate: $8,000 to $15,000 per appearance. Podcast series about healing from toxic parents. Sponsorship potential: $50,000 to $100,000 annually. Possible Netflix or Hulu documentary if the story gained enough traction. Projected value: $500,000 to $2 million. She wasn't just planning to destroy me, she was planning to build an entire empire on my destruction, to become a professional survivor of abuse that never happened, to make millions speaking about trauma she'd invented while I, the actual victim, would lose everything. I had 36 hours before her Friday evening video, 36 hours to decide whether to run, hide, or fight back. Running wasn't an option. Where would a 60-year-old home health aide with $1,200 in savings go? And running would look like guilt, would confirm every lie she was about to tell. Hiding wasn't possible either. The internet doesn't forget. Madison's plan was designed to follow me anywhere I went. Future employers would Google my name and find abuse allegations. My clients' families would hear the stories and question whether I was safe around their loved ones. That left fighting back. But how do you fight someone who'd spent months building a lie so elaborate it had its own documentation, its own timeline, its own fake evidence? The answer was simple: with the truth. And unlike Madison's carefully constructed fiction, the truth left real evidence. I opened my phone and started documenting everything. I spent Thursday systematically going through Madison's entire digital life, every file, every folder, every hidden document she thought was private. 20 years of being a mother teaches you to find things children try to hide. 20 years of being invisible teaches you to do it without leaving traces. In her Google Photos, I found an album titled Content Assets Do Not Delete. Inside were hundreds of photos of me, taken over the past 6 months without my knowledge. Me looking exhausted after my overnight shift at the nursing home. Me falling asleep in my chair while watching TV. Me looking confused when she'd suddenly asked me complicated questions while I was barely awake. But these weren't just candid photos. Each one had been edited. My dark circles made darker, my expression of tiredness transformed into something that looked like confusion or disorientation. My natural frown lines deepened to make me appear angry or mean. She'd been building a visual narrative of a deteriorating, unstable woman. The photos were organized in folders by date and labeled with intended use. Week 2. Mama looking tired had a note. Use for worried about her health content. Week 5. Mama confused had a note. Save for dementia suggestion posts. Week 7. Mama angry looking had a note. Perfect for abuse, reveal video background. I photographed every single image with my own phone, making sure to capture the timestamps, the editing notes, the calculated organization of it all. In her email, I found correspondence with Bree that went back months. They'd been planning this together, workshopping the narrative like it was a creative writing project. What if instead of just financial abuse, I add emotional manipulation? Madison had written in March, like, she made me feel guilty for wanting independence? Yes, Bree had replied. That's so relatable. Everyone's parent has done that at some point, so they'll immediately connect with it. Make sure you use therapy language, guilt tripping, gaslighting, enmeshment. It sounds more legitimate. Another email from April showed Madison asking, "Do you think the drugging angle is too much? Like, will people actually believe that?" Bree's response, "Girl, you're already giving her drugs and filming it. Just flip it. Say she's been doing it to you. You have actual footage of someone looking drugged and disoriented. That's your proof. No one will think to question whether it's you doing it to her instead." I screenshot every email conversation, every planning session, every moment where they'd laughed about manipulating people's emotions for profit. In her notes app, I found her practice scripts. Different versions of her abuse story, each one tested and refined based on which details got the most emotional response when she'd shared hints in her Instagram stories. Version 1 was too vague. "She's always controlled me." Bree's feedback. "Need specifics. People want details they can visualize." Version 2 added invented incidents. "She monitors my phone, controls my spending, tells me I'm ungrateful when I want privacy." Bree's feedback. "Better, but add something about how it's affected your mental health. People love mental health awareness content." Version 3 was the one she'd settled on. "For years I've been afraid to speak my truth. My mother's emotional abuse has left me with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. She controls my finances, monitors my movements, and has been medicating me without my consent to keep me compliant. I'm finally ready to break free and heal." Each version had view count predictions written in the margins. Version 3 had 500K plus views, $20K minimum donations written next to it in red ink. But the most damning evidence was in her banking app. She'd kept meticulous records of every donation, every purchase, every dollar that came in and went out. Not because she was organized, but because she was tracking her earnings like a business. The spreadsheet showed exactly where the donated money had gone. $2,400 on designer athleisure for content. $1,800 on ring lights, camera equipment, and production value improvements. $3,200 on restaurants and cafes for lifestyle content shoots. $2,100 on skincare and beauty treatments to maintain influencer appearance. $900 on miscellaneous shopping, brand building expenses, Every donation meant to help her struggling mother had been reinvested in building the fake life that made people want to donate in the first place. It was a perfect circle of deception. I photographed the spreadsheet, the banking records, the purchase receipts she'd saved for tax purposes. Evidence that she'd not only lied about what the money was for, but that she'd treated other people's kindness like a business investment. In her closet, I found shopping bags with tags still attached. The $450 Gucci sneakers she'd posted about saving up for. The $380 Lululemon set she'd claimed was a rare treat after a hard month. All purchased within days of receiving large donations, all still unworn because they were just props for photos. Under her bed, I found 3 notebooks filled with content ideas, engagement strategies, and growth projections. But the third notebook made me sit down on her floor and just stare at the pages. It was titled, Mama Content, Timeline to Abuse Reveal. She'd been planning this for 8 months. Since January, she'd been methodically building toward this moment, documenting every step, calculating every post, crafting a narrative that would lead inevitably to my destruction and her profit. But Madison had made one critical error in all her planning. She'd assumed that a 60-year-old black woman who spent her life taking care of other people would be too tired, too trusting, too broken down to fight back. She'd forgotten that the same woman who'd raised her alone, who'd worked multiple jobs to give her opportunities, who'd survived racism and poverty and single motherhood, was also a survivor who knew how to protect herself. I had 32 hours until her Friday evening video, 32 hours to build my own case. But unlike Madison, I wouldn't need to lie. Friday afternoon arrived with the weight of inevitability. Madison had been nervous all day, checking her phone every few minutes, adjusting her ring light setup, reviewing her notes. Her big live stream was scheduled for 7 p.m. prime time for maximum audience engagement, according to all her research. I'd spent the morning at work, acting completely normal. Mrs. Patterson had commented that I seemed more energetic than usual. "You look well-rested, Karen," she'd said. "Whatever you're doing, keep it up." If only she knew that what I was doing was refusing to drink my daughter's drugged tea. I got home at 4:30 p.m. Madison was in her room with the door closed, probably doing final rehearsals of her victim performance. I could hear her voice through the door, practicing that trembling, scared tone she'd perfected. I never thought I'd have the courage. Pause for tears. But I can't stay silent. Voice crack for vulnerability. My mother has been. Deep breath for bravery. She was getting ready to perform the biggest lie of her life, and she was treating it like an audition. At 5:45 p.m., Madison emerged from her room. She dressed carefully oversized sweater that made her look smaller and younger, minimal makeup to appear vulnerable, hair pulled back in a simple style. Everything calculated to look like someone who wasn't trying to look good, someone too traumatized to care about appearance. "Mama, I'm making your tea," she announced, her voice carrying that fake cheerfulness. "Special blend tonight. You've been working so hard." I looked up from the couch, where I'd been pretending to watch the news while actually recording everything on my phone, which was propped against a book, with the camera lens pointing toward the kitchen. "That's sweet of you, baby," I said, keeping my voice warm and unsuspecting. I watched her move around our small kitchen, watched her fill the kettle, watched her reach into the cabinet where she kept her supplements and vitamins, watched her pull out a small bottle, not the sleep aids she'd been using before, but something else. Something in a prescription bottle. She glanced toward the living room, checking if I was watching. I kept my eyes on the TV. That's when I saw her tap out not 1, not 2, but 4 pills into her palm. Saw her crush them quickly with the back of a spoon. Saw her dump the powder into my favorite mug twice as much as she'd been using before. She was keeping her promise to Bree, increasing the dose, making sure I'd be barely conscious during her live stream, filmed evidence of how the medication had affected me. "Tea's almost ready," she called out. My phone captured everything: the bottle, the crushing, the pouring, all of it. Madison brought 2 mugs to our small dining table. The larger mug, my usual one, she placed carefully at my regular spot. The smaller mug she set at her place. "Give me just a minute, honey," I said, pulling out my phone and pretending to answer a call. "Hello? Yes, this is Karen. Oh, Mrs. Chen, is everything all right?" I stood up, phone to my ear, pacing toward the hallway while having a completely fake conversation about a scheduling conflict. Madison sat down at the table, scrolling through her phone, probably checking her viewer count for the live stream that would start in just over an hour. This was my moment. "I'm so sorry about that," I said loudly, walking back into the dining room while still pretending to be on the phone. "Yes, I'll check my calendar. Just 1 second." And then, as naturally as if it were an accident, I sat down in Madison's chair, the one with the smaller mug, the safe one. Madison looked up from her phone, confusion crossing her face. "Mama, you're in my—" "Oh, sorry, baby," I said, still holding my phone to my ear. "Just grabbing my tea while I finish this call." "Mrs. Chen, yes, I'm here." I picked up the small mug, Madison's mug, and took a sip. The tea tasted normal. No bitter undertone, no strange texture, just tea. Madison stared at the large mug sitting in front of her now, the one with 4 crushed pills dissolved in it. I could see the exact moment she realized what had happened. Her eyes went wide, her hand reached out, then pulled back. "Actually, you know what? I usually sit there," she said, starting to stand up. "Let me just—" "Sit down, baby. It's just tea, not a formal dinner," I said, ending my fake call and setting my phone down. "This is delicious. Try yours." I took another sip from my mug, the safe one, and made appreciative noises. "You really outdid yourself tonight. What's in this?" Madison stared at her mug like it was a snake coiled on the table. I'm not really thirsty right now." "Not thirsty? You made such a big deal about making special tea, and now you're not going to drink it?" I kept my voice light, innocent, curious. "Is something wrong with it?" "No, it's just, I had a lot of water earlier. My stomach feels full." "Madison." I looked directly at her, my voice still gentle but firm. "Drink your tea. You worked so hard on it. It would be rude not to at least try it." She picked up the mug with trembling hands. I could see her mind racing, calculating. How much had she put in there? Too much to safely drink herself. But if she refused now, would I get suspicious? She took the tiniest sip possible, barely wetting her lips. "That's not drinking. That's tasting," I said. "Come on now. I taught you better manners than that." Madison took another small sip. Then another. Each one reluctant, each one calculated to be as little as possible. But she'd planned this dose for someone who weighed 170 pounds. She weighed maybe 135. The same amount that was meant to knock me nearly unconscious would hit her much harder. "I need to. I have some things to do before." Her words were already starting to slur slightly. "Before my stream." "Your stream isn't until 7. You have time. Finish your tea first." I watched my daughter's face as the reality set in. She was trapped by her own trap, and there was nothing she could do about it. By 6:30 p.m., Madison was struggling to stay upright. She'd managed to drink about half of her drugged tea before her body started visibly shutting down. Now she was leaning heavily against the kitchen counter, blinking slowly, trying to fight off the effects of her own medicine. "Mama, I don't feel good," she mumbled, her words slurring together. Something's wrong with me. Maybe you should lie down for a bit, I suggested, gently guiding her toward the couch. Rest before your big stream. No, I can't. I have to. People are waiting. She tried to pull away but stumbled. I caught her before she could fall. Madison, what did you put in that tea? I asked, my voice calm and steady. Nothing. I didn't. I don't know what you're... Her eyes were getting heavy. She couldn't keep them fully open anymore. Baby, I need you to tell me what medication you used. How much did you put in there? But she couldn't answer. Her knees buckled and I helped her down onto the couch. Within seconds, she was unconscious, her breathing deep and regular. The sleep medication, whatever she'd crushed into that tea, had done exactly what she'd intended it to do. Just not to the person she'd intended. I checked my watch. 6:45 p.m. 15 minutes until her scheduled live stream. Her phone was still in her hand. I carefully took it and looked at the screen. The live stream app was already open, everything set up and ready to go. The title was already written, Why I've Been Silent, My Truth About My Mother. The thumbnail showed Madison looking scared and vulnerable. The description made my stomach turn. Tonight I'm sharing something I never thought I'd have the courage to say. For too long, I've protected someone who hurt me, but I can't stay silent anymore. This is my truth. Please be gentle. 73,000 people were already waiting in the virtual lobby. The comments were flowing. We're here for you, Madison. You're so brave. Whatever it is, you're not alone. Take your time. We love you. These people were preparing to offer support, compassion, and money to someone they believed needed protection. They deserved to know who they were really supporting. I looked at Madison, unconscious on the couch. Then I looked at her ring light, perfectly positioned. Her camera, angled just right, her script notes scattered across her desk. And I made my decision. I sat down in Madison's chair, adjusted the ring light so it illuminated my face, and positioned the camera. Behind me, Madison was visible on the couch, clearly unconscious. I took a deep breath and clicked Go Live. Good evening, everyone, I said, looking directly into the camera. My name is Karen Whitmore, and I'm Madison's mother. I know you were expecting to hear from her tonight, but I think we need to have a different conversation first. The viewer count jumped immediately. 73,000 became 80,000, then 90,000. The comments exploded. Who is this? Where's Madison? Is that her mom? Why isn't Madison responding? Something's wrong. Call the police. I can see you're confused and concerned, I continued, keeping my voice steady. Madison is right there on the couch behind me. She's unconscious because about an hour ago, she drank tea that she'd prepared for me. Tea that contained crushed sleep medication. A lot of it. The viewer count hit 100,000. The comments were moving too fast to read. For the past 3 weeks, my daughter has been putting sleep aids in my morning tea, making me drowsy and confused so she could film me and use that footage to build a narrative about my declining health. Tonight, she planned to increase the dose significantly, to make me barely conscious during this live stream, so she could use me as a prop while telling you all that I've been abusing her. 110,000 viewers now. The story was spreading in real time. But I switched our mugs, I said simply. She drugged herself with her own medication. I held up my phone, showing the video I'd recorded earlier. This footage shows Madison crushing pills and putting them in my tea about an hour ago. You can see the prescription bottle. You can see her checking to make sure I wasn't watching. You can see everything. The comments shifted dramatically. Oh my God. She was going to drug her own mother? This is insane. Play the video. We need to see proof. I'm going to show you everything, I said. Every lie she was planning to tell you tonight. Every dollar she took from people like you who thought they were helping a struggling family. Every fake piece of evidence she created to make you believe I was dangerous. 120,000 viewers. The number kept climbing. But first, I want you to understand something. Madison didn't do this because she's evil. She did it because social media taught her that struggle sells, that victimhood is profitable, and that other people's kindness is a resource to be exploited. I opened Madison's laptop and turned it toward the camera. This document is titled Content Strategy Private. It's 26 pages of detailed plans for how to accuse me of elder abuse, how to make it look credible, and how much money she expected to make from your donations. 130,000 viewers now. I'm going to show you everything. Because you deserve to know the truth about where your kindness was going to go. Behind me, Madison stirred slightly, but didn't wake. The medication was strong. She'd made sure of that. And now, 130,000 people were about to see exactly what she'd planned to do to her own mother for content. I shared Madison's screen with the 140,000 people now watching. Her carefully organized folders appeared on the live stream: evidence creation, content calendar, financial projections, long-term strategy. Let's start with the fake evidence, I said, opening the first folder. These are text messages Madison created using online generators. Messages that supposedly show me threatening her, controlling her, abusing her. None of these conversations ever happened. I displayed the fabricated screenshots one by one. Each showed Karen Whitmore sending cruel, manipulative messages. "You're nothing without me. Try to leave and see what happens. Nobody will believe a word you say." Notice the timestamps, I pointed out. This message says I sent it at 11:30 p.m. on March 15th. I was at work that night, doing an overnight shift at Riverside Nursing Home. I have time cards to prove it. The comments were changing tone rapidly. "This is fraud. She faked all of this? I donated to her? Show us more." I opened her financial spreadsheet. For the past 6 months, kind people like you have been sending Madison money. Small donations, $10, $20, $50. Money you thought was going to help pay for my medical bills, our groceries, our rent. I scrolled through the entries, highlighting each one. Here's where that money actually went. $2,400 on designer clothes for content, $1,800 on camera equipment, $3,200 on restaurant meals for lifestyle posts. Not a single dollar went to helping me or our household expenses. 150,000 viewers. People were sharing the stream across every platform. "Let me read you something Madison wrote to her friend Bree," I said, opening the email folder. This is from April 3rd. "These people are so easy to manipulate. They want to feel good about themselves, so they donate to causes that make them feel righteous. The key is making them feel like heroes for helping me." The chat exploded with outrage. She called us easy to manipulate? I'm at single mom Lisa. I sent my grocery money. We were trying to help. This is disgusting. I opened her content calendar notebook, holding it up to the camera. This is Madison's timeline. 8 months of carefully planned posts, each one building toward tonight's big abuse reveal. Week 12. Post about mama looking confused. Week 18. Story about considering nursing home options. Week 24. Crying video about emotional abuse. Behind me, Madison was starting to wake up. I could hear her mumbling, trying to move. The medication was wearing off, but slowly. Here's what she wrote about tonight, I continued, reading from her notes. "The abuse angle is pure gold. If I position myself as the brave daughter speaking out against her toxic mother, I could easily hit $75,000 in donations. 160,000 viewers now. The story had gone completely viral. Madison researched everything, I said, showing page after page of her planning documents. How to cry convincingly on camera, which hashtags would make abuse content trend. How to time posts for maximum engagement. She treated your compassion like a marketing strategy. I pulled up her practice videos, the ones where she rehearsed looking scared, practiced her trembling voice, timed her emotional pauses. These are her rehearsals. 53 takes of the same crying scene until she got it perfect. The comments were pure anger now. She practiced being a victim? This is psychopath behavior. I want my money back. Someone call the police. She was going to tell you that I've been medicating her without consent, I said, that I've been drugging her to keep her compliant. The irony is that she's been doing exactly that to me for 3 weeks. The tea she drugged tonight, that was meant for me. She was going to film me barely conscious as proof of what the medication had done. Madison's eyes opened. She blinked slowly, trying to focus, then saw the laptop screen, saw the camera, saw the viewer count. Her face went from confusion to absolute horror. "No," she whispered, her voice still slurred. "Turn it off, please." "Like you were going to turn off your lies about me?" I asked quietly. She tried to sit up but couldn't quite manage it. The medication was still affecting her coordination, making her look exactly as she'd planned to make me look: disoriented, confused, drugged. 170,000 people are watching right now, Madison. They've seen your plans. They've seen your fake evidence. They've seen where their donation money really went. "Mama, please," she mumbled, tears starting to form. Real tears this time, not practiced ones. "You're ruining everything." "No, baby, I'm telling the truth. Something you were never planning to do." My phone started ringing. Then Madison's phone. Then our apartment phone. News outlets, I realized. The story was breaking beyond social media. "I want everyone who donated money to file complaints with their banks," I said to the camera. "Screenshot this stream. Save the evidence I've shown. Report the fraud." Madison was planning to raise $75,000 tonight by accusing me of abuse that never happened. Instead, you've all seen exactly who the real victim is in this situation. Someone was knocking at our door. Hard, official knocking. "That's probably the police," I said calmly. "Several of you mentioned calling them in the comments." Madison started crying harder, the reality of her situation finally penetrating through the medication fog. "What have you done?" "I've done exactly what you taught me to do," I said. "I documented everything. I built a narrative. I went viral. Except unlike you, I didn't have to lie." The knocking got louder. "Police! Open the door!" I looked at the camera one last time. 180,000 people have now seen the truth. Thank you for caring enough to watch. I stood up and walked toward the door, leaving the live stream running, letting everyone see what happened next. Justice, it turned out, could go viral too. 3 weeks later, the numbers told their own story. Madison's TikTok account, permanently banned for fraud and community guidelines violations. Her Instagram, disabled after mass reporting. Her YouTube channel, demonetized and removed. The live stream had been downloaded and reshared so many times that switching the T became internet shorthand for exposing a liar with their own trap. The Atlanta Police Department opened case number 2024 ATL 38472 for elder abuse and wire fraud. Detective Morrison, who'd responded that night, told me it was one of the strangest domestic calls she'd ever handled, arriving to find 180,000 people watching the evidence collection happen in real time. PayPal froze Madison's account and initiated refunds to donors. Venmo flagged her for fraudulent activity. The IRS received documentation of all her unreported income from donations. The case was straightforward enough that Detective Morrison said charges were likely elder abuse, fraud, theft by deception. The local news picked up the story first. Atlanta influencer exposed in elder abuse scam. Then the national outlets. Daughter's plan to frame mother backfires in viral live stream. Then international coverage. The Great T-Switch made headlines from New York to London, from Tokyo to Sydney. Madison moved out 3 days after the live stream. No forwarding address, no goodbye, just a text message at 2 a.m. "I can't believe you destroyed my life like this." I didn't respond. What could I say? That she'd been planning to destroy mine first? That turnabout was fair play? That actions have consequences? She knew all of that already. She just never thought the consequences would apply to her. Her last public post before everything got deleted was a Notes app screenshot posted to her Instagram story. The situation has been completely misunderstood and taken out of context. I'm consulting with lawyers about defamation. The truth will come out. That post lasted maybe 6 hours before her lawyer, after presumably watching the evidence, advised her to delete everything and stay silent. Hard to claim defamation when 180,000 people watched you plan fraud in real time. The messages from donors started coming within hours of the live stream. They found me through the Atlanta news coverage, through Facebook, through the nursing home's public contact information. Single mom Lisa was one of the first. "Miss Whitmore, I'm the one who sent $20 thinking it was for groceries. Thank you for telling us the truth. I have 3 kids, and that was my lunch money for the week, but I'd rather know where it really went than keep living a lie. You're a stronger woman than I could ever be." Her message made me cry, not because of the money PayPal had already processed her refund, but because she still saw me as strong when I felt so broken. Veteran Bob sent a longer message. "Ma'am, I served 30 years in the Army, and I know courage when I see it. What your daughter planned was psychological warfare. What you did was strategic defense. You fought with honor when she was planning to fight dirty. Respect." Grandma Ellen wrote, "I'm 74 years old, and I've been watching my granddaughter get scammed by influencers for years. Thank you for showing these young people that lies always catch up with you eventually. My donation was refunded, but I'm sending it back to you directly. You actually need it." I tried to refuse Ellen's money, but she was insistent. "You accept this, Karen Whitmore. You earned it by working hard and raising your child and still having the integrity to tell the truth. That's worth more than any influencer's fake lifestyle." The messages kept coming, hundreds of them. People sharing their own stories of being manipulated by influencers, of donating to causes that turned out to be fake, of trusting people who exploited that trust. My live stream had apparently opened a floodgate, but not all the messages were supportive. Madison's remaining followers, the ones who hadn't turned on her, found ways to reach me. Messages calling me jealous of my daughter's success, accusing me of sabotaging her career, suggesting I was the real narcissist who couldn't handle my daughter's independence. "You're just mad that she was making more money than you," one message said. "She was finally doing better than you, and you couldn't stand it." I blocked those accounts. Didn't engage, didn't defend myself. The 180,000 people who'd watched the live stream had seen all the evidence they needed. I didn't need to convince anyone else. I still work at Riverside Nursing Home. Still make $28,500 a year. Still do overnight shifts and come home exhausted. Mrs. Patterson, Mrs. Rodriguez, Mr. Chen, they all know the whole story now. The news coverage made sure of that. But something's different. Mrs. Chen's daughter brings me homemade dumplings every week now. My mother insists, she says. She says your family, Mrs. Patterson, asked if I'd like to have lunch with her and her daughter sometime. Not as your client, she clarified. As our friend. Mr. Chen's son, who'd once questioned my alertness after Madison drugged me, apologized profusely. "I should have realized something was wrong with you medically, not with your competence. I'm sorry I didn't advocate for you. The apartment feels different now, quieter, yes, but not empty, clean, but not sterile. Madison's ring light is still in her old bedroom, unplugged and gathering dust. Sometimes I think about packing it away, donating it, throwing it out, but then I remember. Truth doesn't need special lighting. My phone still buzzes occasionally with interview requests, podcasters wanting to discuss family betrayal in the social media age, documentary filmmakers wanting to turn the story into a feature, book publishers seeing dollar signs in the mother who went viral fighting back. I decline them all. The truth already found its audience. 180,000 people saw what really happened that night. Millions more saw the clips, read the articles, shared the story. That's enough witnesses for me. Some stories don't need sequels. Some truths don't need elaboration. Some victories don't need celebration. Last week, I got a letter forwarded from Madison's old address. No return address, postmarked from somewhere in California. Inside was a single sentence in her handwriting. "I'm sorry, Mama. I don't know if she means it. I don't know if she understands what she's actually sorry for planning to destroy me, for getting caught, or just for how everything turned out. Maybe all three. Maybe none." I folded the letter and put it in the drawer with all her baby photos, her elementary school artwork, her high school graduation pictures. Evidence of the daughter I raised, before she became someone I didn't recognize. Maybe someday she'll become herself again. Maybe someday we'll talk, really talk, about what happened and why. Maybe someday she'll understand that going viral isn't the same as being seen, that followers aren't the same as family, that content isn't the same as connection. Or maybe she won't. Maybe this is who she is now, someone who valued internet fame more than the woman who sacrificed everything to raise her. Either way, I'm still here. Still Karen Whitmore. Still a 60-year-old Black woman working as a home health aide in Atlanta. Still invisible to most of the world. But I learned something important. Invisible doesn't mean powerless. Sometimes the people no one's watching are the ones who see everything most clearly. And when the truth needs to be told, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It only matters that you're brave enough to speak it. That's a lesson worth more than any viral video. That's Karen's story. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? What city? What country? Drop it in the comments below. I love seeing our global community. Real question. If you were Karen, what would you have done differently? Confronted Madison immediately, walked away, or exposed her like Karen did? Tell me in the comments. Hit that like button if this story hit different. Share it if you know someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe for more raw, real stories about family, betrayal, and justice. One last thing. Team Karen or Team Madison? Who do you think was right in this situation? Comment below. I read every single one. Thanks for watching. The truth doesn't need a ring light, it just needs courage. See you in the next video.